Hey everyone, and welcome back. So yesterday was March 10th, or what Nintendo and Nintendo fans like to call Mario Day. And just as a usual Mario Day, we did get some announcements around different Mario properties. And that's what we're going to be taking a look at in today's video. And we're actually going to be combining information from two different sources. Because not only did we get some information directly from Nintendo, we also got some other information from LEGO. Because some new Mario sets are coming out, also with maybe what could be a bigger announcement on that end. Now, I do want to prep you all. I don't think these announcements are groundbreaking, but I think they're important enough that we should take a look at because you should know them if you're interested in these different properties. Now we're going to start by taking a look at the trailer that was dropped directly by Nintendo. Now it's not a very long trailer, it was only about 3 minutes long, but we did get some different announcements here. And they started off with probably what is one of the most surprising announcements from the trailer is that they confirmed that we are getting a sequel to the Mario movie. But you know what? I think a lot of people saw this coming because Nintendo made so much money off of that first movie. It was pretty much a given that they were going to go with a sequel. But not only did the movie make a lot of money, it was also a really fun and entertaining movie. Now, they decided to go down the same road as they did for the first one, so they're once again doing an animation movie by Illumination. And I think a direct sequel was the right thing to do because if there was maybe one downside to that first movie that I could talk about slightly, is that the pace of the movie, everything seemed a little bit rushed. They were trying to introduce all the characters, introduce the world, how the real world links up to the Mushroom Kingdom and all that. It was a lot to pack into a 1.5 hour movie. Now, the good news is that for the sequel, they'll be able to flesh things out and maybe slow down the pacing a little bit and get a more in-depth storyline going. But at the same time, I don't think they want to go overboard because they do want it to remain a more kid-friendly movie, so it has to be easy to understand. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with, but this is where the announcement got a little weird. Because although I got super excited when they started to talk about it, then they actually announced a release date. But the release date is April 23rd of 2026. This movie is more than 2 years away. And they pretty much said it. They're at the storyboarding phase only. No animation has started. What this really indicates to me is that unfortunately, there is no big Mario game down the pipeline, at least not for this year most likely. And they had nothing else to lead with, so they went with the movie, which is a fun announcement to know it's coming. But when you find out that it's coming for 2026, it's hard to get that excited right away. And personally, right now, I'm even more interested in what's happening with the Zelda live action movie that in the timeline should most likely maybe come out before this Mario movie. But of course, it's Mario Day, so they don't want to talk about that. But in the end, what that meant, as I said, is that it became a really weird announcement and it's hard to get overly excited about it at this point. Now next, we got two really interesting announcements, but they really were almost flashes. I mean, total of the two announcements were maybe less than 30 seconds, and they didn't show any gameplay or anything, but we actually got release dates for Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which by the way is going to be coming out May 23rd of 2024. And then we also got a release date for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, and that one's going to be coming out on June 27, 2024. Now, once again, these announcements, we already knew about these two games. The only thing we didn't really know was a specific release date. We knew that one was slated for 2024, the other one for summer 2024. Well, now we're figuring out that within the next 3 months, both games are dropping. This was a really fun announcement, but once again, it wasn't something overly exciting because we already knew these games were coming. Now, don't get me wrong, once again, I'm super interested in both these games, and I'm really happy that we're finally getting solid release dates. But as I said earlier, it shows you that there are probably no other surprise Mario games coming anytime soon, because both these games we already knew about. And if your biggest announcement for Mario Day was giving the release dates on these two games, they probably already knew these dates for a couple of months, and they were reserving it for today so that they didn't feel completely empty. But at least budget-wise, get ready because both these games are supposed to be full-price releases. So if you're interested in them, make sure you've got $60 for the month of May and another $60 in the month of June. So now let's move on to the last announcement that came directly from Nintendo, and that's the update to the Nintendo Switch Online service, where we're getting one Game Boy game and two Game Boy Color games coming out on March 12th, so Tuesday. And obviously, since this is Mario Day, all three games are Mario themed games. So first of all, we have the Game Boy game, which is going to be Dr. Mario. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad game, it's a pretty good game, but what feels a little weird is we already have the NES version of the game. And I can see very few people choosing to play the Game Boy version when the NES version is available, since it's pretty much the exact same game, just with more basic graphics. But if you've never played it, it's a falling puzzle game. It's super fun. You need to line up these different pills to eliminate different viruses that are on the screen. And overall, it's a super fun game. I played regularly with my wife, at least the NES version. But as I said, the Game Boy version, I think you'll have to have a lot of nostalgia for that version particularly to choose to play that one. So now if we move on to the Game Boy Color games, well, we're getting Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. Now, these are some really good Game Boy Color games. So these I can see a lot more people playing because the experience is definitely different from the other versions of Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. And the fact that they were made for the Game Boy Color, well, the graphics nonetheless have a decent bump up because of that color scheme. And I think this ended up being one of my top announcements from the trailer, because at least it's something we're getting pretty much right away, and these are releases that we didn't actually already know about. But once again, what is a little bit weird is why drop it on the 12th and not the 10th? Maybe whatever developers update the Switch Online service don't work on the weekend, but they can't make an exception for Mario Day or something like that. Just feels a little weird. Why drop it on the 12th and not the 10th? So pretty much, if we're looking directly from Nintendo, that's what they had to give us for Mario Day. Not saying it's a bad announcement, it's just a little bit dry. And as I said earlier, it just shows you that they pretty much don't have anything big in the pipeline, at least not directly concerning Mario properties. So now we're going to move on to the announcements for the LEGO trailer. So if you have no interest in LEGO whatsoever, you can pretty much stop watching. However, there is one surprise announcement at the end that you might want to be aware about, so you can always stick around if you want to. Now, to get started, I do want to talk about the presentation they chose, because to me, it missed the mark, unfortunately. Like, basically, the guys trying to show us the Lego sets, and then they try to be a little funny, where this random family pops up that's not supposed to be there, and they sort of crash the presentation. It just honestly, to me, didn't work at all, and just ended up feeling really cringe, but the sets they presented are actually pretty fun, and as I said earlier, there's a really interesting teaser at the end. Now we're going to run through these pretty quickly because it's hard to get super excited about them, because once again, they're only releasing on August 1st. Now the first one of these sets is the biggest one that they were presenting, and it is the Bowser Express Train that will be retailing for $119.99. It has 1,392 pieces, and basically it's inspired from the Bowser train level from 3D Mario World. I think the set looks really fun and really nice, and if you're a LEGO Mario fan, I think this is going to be one of the must-have sets. Now the second set that they announced is King Boo's Haunted Mansion. And once again, a very interesting set. Now this one will be retailing for $74.99. It will have 932 pieces. And obviously they're trying to line up here, in my opinion, with the release for Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Because obviously, although Boo's Mansion appears in different games, it really does normally, associate itself a lot with Luigi's Mansion. I also like the fact that it has a collapsing design, so you'll be able to close it up and it'll take a lot less space on your shelf. Now the last set that they presented to me is the least exciting one, and that is Battle with Roy at Peach's Castle, which will be retailing for $64.99. It'll have 738 pieces, and the reason why to me this is less exciting is just the fact that Peach's Castle has been featured in multiple other sets with multiple versions of the same castle, and it just feels like a setting that has been way overused. Like, I do like when they have budget versions of the bigger sets where you don't have to spend like $200 on just Peach's Castle, but at the same time, at this point, I think we're at like 4 versions of Peach's Castle, and it's a little too much. Now we get to the last and maybe one of the more exciting announcements from the LEGO side. Now, it only lasted about 20 seconds, and we have very little information about what it actually is, but they did announce that in 2025, so next year, we should be getting Lego Mario Kart. Now, when I saw this, a ton of different ideas started popping up in my head. Like, are we going to be talking about sort of closed circuit racing, but Lego versions? Are we going to be talking about Technic sets? Are we going to maybe even be talking about remote controlled sets? Because don't forget, Nintendo already has the Mario Kart Live Circuit, which is, if you don't know, remote control cars using augmented reality that can basically turn a normal environment into a Mario Kart racing course. Now, I might be overthinking this, and they might just continue on with regular sets, popping out carts and using these same interactions with the Mario figures as we've seen for other things. But at the same time, if they really want to do something original, there are a ton of possibilities here. So I am excited to see what they're going to come up with for this. But overall, these are the announcements that we got for Mario Day. Now, I don't want to feel overly negative, but as I said, it just shows you that I think Nintendo is sort of out of steam for the current Switch. And although things have likely been pushed back to 2025 from the rumors, well, it seems like there might not be any huge games lined up, at least not directly related to Mario properties. Now let me know what you think in the comments down below. Which announcement excited you the most? Are you happy to know that there's officially another Mario movie coming out? Or are you like me maybe, where these announcements are interesting, but you have a little bit of trouble getting overly excited? Either way, thanks for watching, and don't forget on the way out to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and click on that notification bell. And as usual, I'll see you in my next video.